Hello.
Hello and welcome to the Addicts podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today's episode 125, and we're interviewing Zach P. How you doing today, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to this interview. So let's dive in and get started. Tell me about your childhood.
Uh, my childhood was pretty traumatic and stuff. I lost my mom at the age of 2 in a car crash, and I was almost killed the same day. But I survived at a 3% chance of survival and stuff like that. But I was raised by my dad all through my childhood, basically when my mom passed away. So it was pretty good. I got to learn a lot of things that I never thought I would ever be able to learn.
What kind of things did you learn?
Mechanics, landscaping, a lot about welding, carpentry, pretty much a lot of the trades that, are out there that are good, come in good use and good hand. So, yeah, pretty much one of my favorite ones was just mechanics. Spent a lot of time working on cars when I was a kid, and it was a good way for me and my dad to bond.
Yeah, no, I can imagine having the same hobby is definitely a way to bond with someone. So
Yeah,
what was it? What was school like when you were very young?
school was great.
Actually, let me ask you one question before that. How did your mentality change when your mom died? Did anything go on? Like, what did you feel would happen?
Um, when my mom died, it was a big life changer. I had to learn how to walk, talk, and eat again at the age of 2. And, as time progressed, like when I was 6 years old, I remember asking my dad once when I was a kid, like, hey, where's mom? Why isn't she coming home? And that's when I really was informed that she passed away. I didn't know, obviously, at that young of an age, something like that traumatically happened. But, it became easier over the years after I was informed that to adjust to it. And I was accepting the fact, like, my dad having to play the role of a mom and dad at the same time, which was pretty hard on him. Having girlfriends here and there and stuff, but they would never stick around for some odd reason. It was too much for them or something like that. I don't know the whole deal on that portion, but moving forward, I'm just glad that I'm thankful my dad didn't give up on through the struggle. It was it was something. I, yeah.
How was life at school?
Life at school was great. I went to preschool through high school in Red Wing, Minnesota. I graduated in 2012. I never used drugs. I was drug free. Never really did any partying. Didn't really go to friends' houses. Maybe a few overnighters here and there and whatnot. But I was just mainly bound to be at home and hanging out with my dad in the garage and his friends' kids and stuff like that. We went camping, fishing, boating, four-wheeling, dirt biking, to some events, to hotels and stuff like that throughout the years and whatnot. But my dad gave me and my sister, which I have a 2-year younger sister than me and whatnot. But my dad gave us both the best childhood that a single father could ever give his children, and did whatever it took just to make sure they were happy. I give my dad a lot of props on his behalf on sticking all of this through all the way up until we were 18. So,
Yeah, that's not easy. I can only imagine. Well, I don't know from experience, but I can only imagine how hard that must have been to raise kids by yourself.
yeah, I don't know how my dad did it, but I'll give him the upper hand. Like, he did one hell of a great job. I give my dad a lot of props. He's the best, my best friend, my best teammate that I've ever had, tag team partner. That's always been my corner. And, I'll always admire my dad for all the things that he's done, all the things that he's gone through, and everything that he is.
Yeah, I mean, that's once again, that's an amazing thing. So I guess this is someone that you must have looked up to a lot.
Yeah, I mean, me and my dad, we're very close throughout the years. And then when my addiction got involved, he distanced himself away from me. And of course, I could understand why. He's not about that whole addiction lifestyle like I was. I started using meth when I was 23. It got out of hand. I've been in and out of jail. I just got done doing, 108-day prison term, just 108 days out of a 33-month bid, and just because I sat 562 days in county throughout the time of being on probation. I'm off parole next month. Within the time, my dad's given me a lot of advice, especially through addiction. And the number one thing that really stuck out to me was when I called him up, and back on October 2nd of last year, when I was in a high intensity patient, and he just told me there's nothing in this lifetime that I'd want anymore other than for you to get your life figured out and on track, because there's going to be one day that you're waiting for that may not come for me. And that's what really hit me. Like, I really want to make the memories last. I really want to make new memories with my dad while I still have that time. I mean, obviously he's almost 58 years old and the time's going fast, but I'd rather make every moment that I have last, especially while I still have that time to actually make those memories.
So going back a little bit, how is life at school going all the way up through high school? Did you do good grades and stuff?
School is good. I got good grades. I was on the A honor roll a few times in high school, maybe a few times in middle school. Skipped 6 weeks my senior year because we had that one big snowfall. I ended up throwing out my back, and one day turned into a few days, and just progressed on where it's like I don't even want to go back to school. And then I went back, thankfully, and I was told that you can miss 2 more days of school, and I ended up taking those 2 days off right away, which was really stupid of me, but I did anyways. And then went to school one day, left early, and next thing you know, my home base teacher, which was also my case manager or whatever in school, came up to me and told me, not asked me, that since you took off early yesterday, you will not be graduating on time this year. So I was bummed out. I got on the phone with my uncle. Thankfully, they made a deal. If I don't miss one more day that school year, I'd be able to graduate on time. And yeah, I mean, even if I was sicker than a dog, I'd still have to show up to school. Unless I had permission to leave early, I'd have to stick it out. And so I did. Now here I am.
So did you ever have any type of warning signs or anything that you can look back and say, like, that might have led to addiction later on in life? Like, did the trauma of your mom really affect you throughout your life, or that's something that you were able to control early on?
I feel as if, it kind of did, but I didn't really think about that much. One day I just woke up when I was 23 years old, and, May 28th of 2016 was the date that I went to use dope the first time. And I couldn't really get over the fact, like, my mom's gone. It's been so long, it just built up. The drugs numb the pain, where it just, I had to keep on having it. And I didn't want to deal with my inner emotions doing something different that I used to always like to do, and that was ride dirt bike. just
And how
forget.
young were you? How young when you started using?
I was 23 when I started smoking meth.
That's right. You mentioned that before.
Yeah, and I'm 29 now. I actually have 15 and a half months, almost 16 months on July 12th. So
That's amazing. Congrats.
thanks. Yeah, it's just I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and not just that, beating myself up, being away from my family, friends that cared about me, the bridges that I've burnt over the years, the trust that I've lost, the respect I didn't have for anybody, let alone myself at the time. Like, I wanted all that back. The only way I was going to get that is if I were to do something that I didn't do before. I've been to treatment numerous of times, but this time around, it's like I said 2 years ago, I want to see my life change by the time my golden birthday comes around when I'm 29, and here I am actually living what I once said 2 years ago. So I want to see it progress and keep going. I want to do much more different things to actually see the sobriety keep going on and on and on, throughout the years, no matter the struggle, no matter the urges, the triggers that are there. I know my warning signs, you know, thankfully I got a sponsor. I'm working the 12 steps, so it makes it easier on why I'm doing this for me.
Let's real quick go back to when you're 23. What caused you to take meth or use meth, I should say, for the first time? And who did you do it with? Were you by yourself or did you do it with somebody?
When I was 23, my cousin, he ended up leaving town, and he used to always do dope, and I'd always hang around him. But I'd never smoke it in front of him. I was always a weed smoker at the time. Like, I just stuck with pot, and then when he left town, probably a few weeks before I started, and I knew somebody that lived in the same apartment as I did that knew somebody that was sold, and I just went down to his room and like, hey man, I want to try dope. He goes, oh, well, I don't have any, but I know where a person lives that does, or to be able to smoke with you. So we went to his house. I watched him smoke out of a light bulb with a pen, obviously. I mean,
A light bulb? Like an actual light bulb?
yeah, like, he took like Epsom salt and cleaned it out so we wouldn't have all that light residue or whatever the heck is on the inside of light bulbs, and, just sit there and twist it. And I was getting interested, and he's like, you want to try? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And next thing you know, I'm sitting there cleaning his whole house, the living room, his kitchen. I mean, I was asking to mow his lawn for him. Like, it was powerful. And ever since then, I was just hooked, and I hated it. I liked it at the time, but I hated it now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you look back and think that you were filling a void with drugs? There's this guy I've mentioned before, Gabor Mate. I've mentioned him probably on like 3 or 4 different podcasts, but he believes all addiction basically comes from trauma.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why people, use drugs and whatnot. And, trauma is actually one of the biggest things why people go out and find something that they actually enjoy to do at the time of some big events that are unforgettable.
So how was life once you started using? Did you have a job? What were you doing with your life at that time?
I didn't have a job at the moment. Till like later that year, but I still was smoking dope. But then again, like, I was just going around with people that had it, and, getting pretty much a free smoking session and whatnot. And, that's pretty much how I supplied my habit, is just being around the people that had it until I actually had my own money to be able to afford it. And, a lot of these people that I was hanging out with knew my cousin that left town, that would always hang out with him and smoked it when I was hanging around him. And, they acknowledged the fact that I was starting to use meth, and they simply just didn't care about what was going to happen or anything like that. So, yeah.
So the first time you said you enjoyed it, you were running around doing, trying to do chores, you said, right?
Yeah, like it was crazy. Like I cleaned this whole dude's kitchen house. I was living room, upstairs, just basically doing anything just to because you have so much energy, you don't know what to do, and that's exactly what I did. I'm pretty sure I was probably on the verge of wanting to reshingle his roof because it needed to be done. And he's just like, dude, you need to go take a nap. I'm like, how can you take a nap with all this energy right now, man? This is impossible.
What what is the come down like?
The come down off of meth, it's crucial. Very crucial. Like your body just shuts down. You want to sleep. You're out. For me, depending on how much I did and how long I was up, I'm usually out maybe 2, 3 days at least. Then I'm back up was always back up doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
So how did it progress?
How did it progress? Like, well, like they say in the big book, one's never enough and a thousand's never too many. It just, I don't know. Like, I say probably about 2020 was like literally the worst year of my addiction ever. Like, I probably at least got fell asleep maybe 8 times that whole year, 8, maybe 5 times. Like, when I'm on meth, I don't eat. And obviously, you get really skinny, and the meth eats up to your fat. And, that's just basically what it's reviving on. And, I was just smoking just to see tomorrow. I wasn't just smoking just because I wanted to, just for the hell of it. I just did it because, I'm just hanging around people that do it themselves.
So it's basically around peers.
Yeah. And
Did you feel like you had to do it around them?
I don't feel like I had to do it around them. It was just basically offered. I could have said no, but I just said screw it. Why not? You're gonna want it later if you don't do it now. So why not? When your addict mind is right there, you're thinking like, why not? Screw it. Who cares? It's free dope. You know. So I mean, it's like people who like to drink. If it's on the house, people are gonna get that one extra beer or whatever they're interested in drinking. You know.
I was an alcoholic. I completely understand that.
Yeah. So.
So as you were getting older, what was life like? Like as the drug abuse got worse, what was your life like? I mean, as far as social life, employment, stuff like that.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been homeless. It sucked. I cried, couch hopped several times,
How did
sleeping
it,
on.
real quick, going back, how did you feel when you were homeless?
How did I feel? Well, at the time, you really don't care. It's just like, well, whatever it is, what it is. I'll deal with whatever I have coming my way when it's time to deal with it. Like you ain't thinking about where you're gonna lay your head at night. You're thinking about your next high. Where am I gonna get my next fix? Once I got that, then I'll focus on what I need to do next. You know, like sometimes even with being homeless, like I'd crash in a person's garage for a few nights or just, well, pretty much stay up and mess around on my phone. But like, at least I had a roof over my head, or I'd be sleeping in a hallway next to a library in Red Wing where I'm originally from. just so I have somewhere to go where it's warm. So if it's wintertime, a few times it was in a tent. One time, once or twice it was in a cave up on Memorial Bluff when I had nowhere to go. Um, Once underneath a bridge when it was pouring rain because like I said, I had nowhere to go. You know, friends weren't very supportive because obviously the friends that I had were the ones that were using. You know, not saying that they weren't there. You know, thankfully, you know, I got a good friend that I used to use with that he's also sober too, and you know, I respect him. You know, with all my heart, literally. Like we've known each other for 9 years, and he's always been there through the thick and thin, no matter the situation.
So were you scared when you were homeless? Like, is that scary? I mean, to me, I feel like that would be like the first thing was fear. Like, just, I don't know.
No, you know, like I wasn't scared. I actually grew up always wanting to be in the woods. So, you know, I always love nature. You know, I've gotten a lot of experience because of it and from it, you know, what to do, what I can do, where to go, you know, shit like that. Um, like I said to my grandparents and my sister when I was a kid, like if I ever came homeless, I would hit the woods. And they're like always asking me why. I'm like, because then I could use nature and build my next, you know, little fort or whatever you want to call it, and you know, try surviving off that for a while. And actually worked. You know, I mean,
I did.
yeah, like I mean, I've kind of
What
like
did you build?
it kind of like a teepee, you know, like taking the brush from broken trees and leaning them up on, you know, trees, and then taking like brush that are, you know, still had leaves and whatnot, and kind of like putting it over the cracks and stuff. So if it does rain, nothing would get in. So it was an experience. I wouldn't want to do it again.
Yeah, and that sounds like it. I wouldn't want to either. But yeah, so at what point did you say to yourself, you know, like I might be having an issue with drugs now? Or it was crystal meth, just that?
Yeah, you know, it wasn't just drugs. It was like when I was hanging out with my cousin in 2020, he's my half cousin. Um, he likes to, you know, steal and you know all that stuff. And I never got into that kind of lifestyle. You know, I was just hanging out with him because I cared about him. He's family, you know, and he was feeling suicidal. And you know, then as the years as time progressed on, then 2020, he's like, "Hey man, let's go rob this. Let's go do that. You want to help me do this?" And I told him straight up, like, if you're trying to fuck up your life more than life's already messed up already for us, let alone yourself, you go right ahead. I'm good. I already messed up my life enough by just using drugs. And you know, when he robbed me back when I left high intensity inpatient treatment in 2020, that's when I knew right there and then, like, you know, I need to make a change. I mean, 2020 is almost over, so why don't we start 21 on a better, you know, in a better spotlight? And March 12th of 21, that's sober. I spent about 60 days of that 21 in jail, got out, got high for about a week. And that's when I was like, yeah, I need to go to treatment. And so I've been into 6 treatments within the last year. I mean, obviously, I'm at a Navan Wellness Center here in St. Paul, which is a mental health treatment. And that's the one thing that I'd never focus on in any of the other treatments I was at, because I wasn't even one of the topics was mental health. And that's where I was leaving a big blank out on why I was always going back and relapsing, because I wasn't focusing on my mental health.
That is definitely a huge part of it.
Yeah. So,
What types of things do you do to help your mental health?
Um, I started writing poetry about 4 years ago. I actually got some of my stuff published last March, earlier last March up in Morrow, Minnesota.
That's
And,
great.
that's just, thank,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, writing poetry, listening to music, hanging out with sober people, having my sponsor to talk to, work the steps, go to meetings, all that really helps out with my mental health, and hanging out with my best friend, my family, um, which is my dad. He's my all-time best friend. Can't thank him enough, especially today. I mean, we've just regained our relationship back because I'm actually doing something with my life instead of doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So, not just that, going fishing too, so I can't leave out, catching some fish.
Hey, say that one more time.
I mean, obviously, we can't forget about going fishing too. We got to catch some fish. I mean, that's obviously one good way to help out with sobriety is get out and enjoy the wilderness once in a while.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I got a buddy. He actually writes articles for us,
Yeah,
and he says nature is a big part of his life.
that's good.
So, what kind of things did you do, and do you continue to do to stay sober? Do you have any tricks or tips?
My trick and tips, you know, life didn't come with the remote, so get up and change it yourself. Like if you really want to make a difference in your life, the only person that's going to get in anybody's way is yourself. Only you create the circus and how far you want that circus to get out of hand. I'm sick of having that circus get out of hand. So it's time to tame the animals and be able to run the show the way it should have been ran a long time ago. Yeah.
So one of my last things, do you have any advice for people watching and listening?
My advice, and I'm good at advice, I have a lot.
Give us a lot. I want to hear a lot.
Instead of always asking why not ask how for a change? Because that how is going to get you a lot further than that why ever did. You may hear 1,000,000, you may hear 1,000 no's until you finally actually get to hear that yes that you've been looking for. But no matter how many no's you get, don't let it stop you from making better perfection in your life. Yeah.
So did you have anything else you want to add in?
No, I don't. That's actually it. I was looking forward to this interview. I actually appreciate it. I'm looking forward to being able to watch it, and show my friends, family, people that are in the recovery themselves, and, hopefully later down the road, be a little bit more organized and have another interview and, not have to, just come up with all this stuff right off the head, bat. But, I mean, it's a great experience, I mean, I advise everybody that's out there that's suffering to, step up to the plate and swing harder than you did through your addiction to make it somewhere that you want to be in life.
It's great. So that's it. It's everything you got for us.
Yes.
All right, cool. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
No, it was a pleasure. All right, for
Thank you.
everybody watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. Also subscribe to see when we upload new videos. You can check us out on Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Also, you can check us out at our website, which is www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you'll find plenty of resources as well as some literature that we have available for free. So that's all I got for today. And until next time.